guest is a very huge supporter of the Veterans Memorial Park. And he's going to give us a layout and a tribute to the Royal Canadian Mounted Police and the sacrifices that they've made with the United Nations since 1989. Mr. Jerry White.
Without looking down, would somebody like to bawl out what it says, please, on the back of the United Nations medal? It says, "In the service of peace." It doesn't say military men in the service of peace. It doesn't say old guys from World War I or old guys from World War II. It says, "In the service of peace." Since 1989, as Minister Casey pointed out, there have been in excess of 3,000 UN peacekeepers who have lost their lives. There are also very many of us who have come back wounded on the outside, and as paid tribute to by the lonely stone over the corner, many wounded on the inside. They're not all military, nor are they all RCMP. I'll collect myself for a minute here. If my mother was here, she would say the Stadacona Band lends dignity to what would otherwise simply be an uncivilized brawl. Thank you. Yeah. Now maybe I can keep my composure. I think they call it coping strategies. I'm not sure. Is it a rolling coping strategy? If you look around here, you will see Air Force, Navy, Army, RCMP, and you will also see provincial and civilian law enforcement officers who have served with the UN. Probably not supposed to single people out, but I'll single out a couple of Barrys. One of them is my friend Barry Mellish, who, as you can tell by his blue brain protector, served with the United Nations. And what you may not notice is a silver cross hanging around his neck. Over my right shoulder, wearing the distinguished uniform of Halifax Regional Police, is Barry Mombercat, who, as you can see by his chest, he's right there, right there. And the guy's got more medals than Prince Philip. That said, it is not about how many medals you have. It is not. They formed an organization a few months ago. I was at the launch of the Society of Atlantic Heroes. I don't get a lot of opportunities to correct Peter Stauffer, but I said if you ask anybody standing against this wall of sandbags here, they will tell you that the heroes are either still over there duking it out or they're in the ground. The rest of us, we're survivors, not heroes. Stand by to correct me if I'm wrong, anybody's out there. The RCMP and those provincial and municipal peace officers, it's interesting, your job description, peace officer. I always tell people, red, white, and blue are the colors of freedom until you see them in your rearview mirror. But peace officer, that's their title. Look at the three members behind me in red serge, the veteran members, the city policemen. There are Korean and Second World War vets here, all serve in the service of peace. Minister Casey quoted Mahatma Gandhi. I will quote Mahatma Gandhi as well. And it's very coincidental that we're both picking on the same man who epitomizes peace. Mahatma Gandhi said that no war ever resulted in peace. Wars do not result, they do not bring peace. They simply bring an end to the war. Peacekeepers and those who go in harm's way bring peace and keep peace. That's why we're called peacekeepers. The military, sometimes you volunteer. It's interesting because in another month it will be 25 years since I did my first UN mission in the killing fields in Cambodia. That was one of the first regular UN peacekeeping missions that we had to volunteer for. If you happen to be a member of the Royal Canadian Mounted Police, it's difficult to serve in the UN because the RCMP has to release you. And it's very hard to get released. So there are provincial, municipal, and Royal Canadian Mounted Policemen serving and who have served with the UN, who actually put in grievances because they would not get released to go into some place of harm's way where they could possibly come home hurt or worse. There are peacekeeping missions that everybody knows about, like the Sudan, Darfur, Cyprus going back to the 70s. We've been doing this a long time. I'm sure everybody here is aware that the United Nations was actually stood up by Canada. That's to be Pearson. We invented the United Nations. Pardon the personal bias, but I believe we're pretty damn good at it too. We train the Royal Canadian Mounted Police when they go on a UN peace mission, or the municipal and provincial police forces. They don't just keep the peace. They negotiate peace between factions. Dig up hundreds of bodies. I was part of exhuming 1.5 million bodies. Mostly women and children. And give evidence at war crimes tribunals. That's what policemen are good at, putting bad people away. And every time you look back in history, and all of these wars were started by people who had a very short shelf life, because they get their just desserts, and then peace officers go in alongside of military peacekeepers and guard and preserve and protect the ensuing peace. There have been many mounted policemen and municipal and civilian police that have given their lives in the service of peace. I'm going to hand this to Karen Ewing when I'm finished, but there's 2 mounted policemen on the cover of this book, one of whom I'm sure many of you know, Mark Gallagher. Served here, served in New Brunswick. Went back to Haiti early, before he was supposed to go back. And his barrack building fell in on top of him and killed him in the earthquake. Superintendent Doug Coates also gave his life in Haiti. The sacrifice is enormous. I do not for one second surmise to trivialize the contribution of those who go and fight wars, especially those who make the ultimate sacrifice. I simply would like you to remain mindful that there are NGOs out there. People throw these terms around without knowing who they are. Non-government organizations. Okay? Oxfam, CARE, Salvation Army, Red Cross. Somewhere there will be a military man with an M16 watching over him. Okay? Somewhere in the near vicinity will be a peace officer who may even be watching over the military man. I had 84 Philippine Marines responsible for my safety, and I had 32 members of the Garda, the Irish police. You have not been protected until you've been protected by a bunch of Irish cops. That is all I wish to remind you of, is the contribution that is made by peace officers, municipal, federal, Westville Police, Halifax Police, Truro Police, Peel Regional, York Regional, Saanich Police, the Garda. Keep them in your hearts and minds as well. Thank you very much.